What is up? It's Kamal Daniels and it's the Peng Sports Podcast. It is April 28th at 7:06 a.m. How are you all doing this week? How am I doing this week? I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good. I was sitting back the other day on Monday thinking to myself how blessed I was. Through everything I've gone through, everything that the world's going through, and if I look at my life, I say I'm a pretty blessed guy. And you guys may be going through some things right now, going through some stuff, but I want you to know you're a blessed person too. It doesn't have to be necessarily what would you believe in to be blessed, what kind of religion faith you have, but you're blessed no matter what. And I want you guys to know that you're blessed to have life, and just keep on pushing, man. Keep on pushing. It's gonna be tough. It wouldn't be life if it wasn't tough. But whenever you feel alone, man, always know that there's probably someone out there who's experienced the same thing or experienced something worse. This is a part of the script. This is the Peng Sports Podcast Network, but we don't stick to sports on here. We talk about anything that's on my mind, and that's been on my mind. How blessed I was, I got people in their lives working on Mondays 9 to 5. And the other day I was chilling, just doing absolutely nothing, and I realized to myself how blessed I was, and I just wanted to share that with you all. And yeah, life may not be perfect. It'll probably never be perfect, to be honest with you, but it's still great and it's still appreciated. And I appreciate life because of things like the NBA. And with the NBA, I feel like this is a common cliche that is said in the NBA. Every team makes runs. And I believe that a team that's the most consistent, maybe not make the biggest run, maybe not make the largest run, is the team that is going to win the game. Stay consistent and play good defense with constant buckets. You're going to win the game. You don't have to go on these long runs. You can let a team come back, but just consistency is key. Not going too high, not going too low. Of course, that sounds a lot simpler now that I say it out loud, but when I watched the Milwaukee Bucks play the 76ers the other night, right? And I see the Milwaukee should be blowing this team out by way more than the 76ers are playing, right? With no Joel, no Ben, they should be blowing them out way more. Lee was constantly up by 10, every single quarter. And then at the beginning of the third quarter, the 76ers were going this run. Seth Curry's hitting threes. Everyone's just firing on all cylinders at the beginning of the third quarter. And then the more consistent team, the team that got more buckets, played good solid defense. Soon but surely, I blink and the Bucks are up by 20. They're up by 25. And I look at the game and I say, the Bucks aren't doing anything different than they were doing before. What's the big difference is, what are the 76ers doing? And that, I believe, is what determines a championship team. And why I am worried and I hope that the 76ers get the 1 seed in the East. Because if the 76ers don't get the 1 seed in the East, I do believe that they have a chance of losing to the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference semifinals. It would be a 7-game series, 6-game series, but I see too often where the 76ers are playing down to their competition. Of course, they didn't have Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons, but every time I see them, when they play an unhealthy Nets team, when I see them play an unhealthy Clippers team, it's playing down to the competition. It's closer than it needs to be, right? I said last week, of course, the next game I excuse. But I still don't want need to put my starters back in later. The 76ers have a very good team, but are they ready yet? Is my question. I think they can be ready. I think they have the talent to be ready. I think it's tough when you have a first-year coach in the job. It's tough when everyone's just finally figuring out their roles. When you're just figuring out your role, you're still understanding your role better, if that makes sense. Okay, I know what I am, but how good can I be? You're still sort of doing trial and error. It's just one of those things that I won't say Brent Brown kept over, but it's one of those things that it's just going to take some time. So I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, the 76ers make the Eastern Conference Finals so they have a somewhat easier route to the Eastern. They're number one seed in the Eastern Conference. So they soon have the number one. They have a chance to make the easier chance to make the Eastern Conference Finals. And they won't have to play the Nets or the Bucks in the second round, because I do believe those two are danger games. But the Bucks, on the other hand, have a guy named Giannis Antetokounmpo. You guys know who he is. I know who he is. He makes everything on the basketball court look easy. Of course, he's 7'1", 7 foot, 6'11", 6'10", whatever you want to say. Handling the ball, lengthy, long arms. Only thing he really struggles at doing is shooting threes. Everything else he does, as I said, effortless. Plays at his own pace. And I'm looking at this Bucks roster. Of course, they played the 76ers 2 times in a row. And I've seen them play other games. And I'm seeing them. And this team's built perfectly around Giannis. Perfectly. Has shooters, has defenders, has it all. The GM for the Bucks has done a phenomenal job. I do not know his name at the time, but done a phenomenal job for the Bucks. I mean, ball handlers, game managers. They got Tucker, the other great acquisition, great role players. Probably the best role playing squad in the league, right? Have a role playing article coming out on Friday, part 1. So just look out for that one. But anyways. We've seen the Bucks make the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and then they made the Eastern Conference Finals the year before last, and then they made the Eastern Conference semis last year, and the year before they made the Eastern Conference semifinals, they made the Eastern Conference semis again. But we look at certain instances where coaches can't get a certain team over the hump. And it happens constantly throughout basketball. We saw it with Golden State, Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson made that Golden State team, made them the beginning of their dynasty, made them great somewhat. I won't say he made them great, but he made them respectable. But they were constantly losing the second round or losing the first round. They had those little spouts with, remember, Lob City, right? Steve Kerr comes in. Same team, same exact system. I had the belief that it was the Tony Dungy effect. Give Mark Jackson one more year and they're winning a championship. Maybe not. I don't believe so now that I look at how the Golden State plays now. But back then, I was definitely believing that's Tony Dungy effect. You keep Mark Jackson for one more year. No, it's Steve Kerr. We see with Toronto, Dwayne Casey made Toronto respectable. Probably one of the best coaches the Toronto Raptors organization has ever had. Dwayne Casey won Coach of the Year, did a whole bunch of stuff. They fire him. I think if I'm not mistaken, fresh off of him winning the Coach of the Year award. And they fire him. They hire Nick Nurse or promote Nick Nurse, and he leads them to the championship the very next year. Of course, what do I think? That's Kawhi Leonard. Then the very next year, he wins Coach of the Year. my opinion, that shut me up. That shut any critic of Nick Nurse up. So to say this, I'm saying maybe, just maybe, Mike Budenholzer is not the guy for the Bucks. He made the Bucks respectable, but there needs to be a new guy to come in to win the Bucks a championship. If you're a Milwaukee fan, you may be saying, well, Mike Budenholzer is the Steve Kerr. He is the Nick Nurse. He replaced Jason Kidd. And I don't think there's an exact science to it, if I'm being completely honest with you. I don't think there's an exact science to it, right? There could be many coaches along the way to win a championship. Magic Johnson apparently fired his coach after his first year and got Pat Riley. So you're telling me a guy, after he won a championship, they got a new coach. So maybe the Bucks need to look into the new coach, because it's constantly every year. The Bucks usually have one of the most healthiest teams and one of the best teams, most well-rounded teams in the league, and they're losing in the second round of the considered by most weaker Eastern Conference. How do you constantly throughout the whole season have such great players left and right, and then you can't beat the likes of the Miami Heat? You can't beat somewhat a Toronto team that you were up 2-0 on. Just things you have to look into. So, because they're not going to get... I believe Milwaukee's done the best they possibly can, if I'm being completely honest with you. Getting the best role players they could get. Getting transcendental. Getting a once-in-a-generation talent who decided to stay. Seems like he wants to stay. Have a great team behind him. As I said, healthy. What more do you need? Because you're not going to attract a big free agent to relocate. Is that what you're saying? You need to relocate Milwaukee? Because you're not going to attract a free agent that to get you over the hump. I think they need a new coach. I don't know who, but sometimes change is for the best. But it's in the Midwest. Midwest has a bunch of hardworking people, has a bunch of people who are just fine with being good, consistency. Maybe not win championship every year, but up and down. But these Midwest people in the Midwest like consistency, hardworking, hard-nosed people. We don't want the glitz and glamour. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it our way. We're going to struggle. I won't say that's ignorant at all. I just say it's a different way of doing things. So that could be Milwaukee could be taking the personality of the Bucks could be taking the personality of Milwaukee, of the Midwest. Or, as I said, get a new coach. Or relocate, because you're not going to attract high touted free agents. Also with this, to stick on this Bucks thing, I think Giannis doesn't have a Doc Rivers, if I were to say that. With Joel Embiid a few years back with Brent Brown, he would shoot threes, he was shooting shots outside the basket, shots that you didn't really want to take Joel Embiid to take, but he could take because he was Joel Embiid, he was the best player. And I find that with Giannis as well, where he'll take a three with 15 seconds in the shot clock. Somewhat contested, you don't need to take a three, you can pass it out. And he takes about 3 to 4 of those shots a game. Not egregious. He has the credit to do that, but do you want Giannis to do that every single time up the court? That's my question. When you know you can get another basket from Giannis. Save those threes for 20 seconds down by 5 and with 4th quarter 20 seconds with down by 5. That's when I need that rush 3. It just sometimes he just takes bad shots. And maybe a different coach tells him, hey, to become elite and to become a champion, you got to think those things through. Somewhat like, again, how Doc has done with Joel. Yeah, Joel, you can shoot the 3, but let's try to work it inside because that's your real strong suit. It's a tough dynamic because you fire Mike Budenholzer, right? And you get worse. And if you don't want to be, if you don't care as much about championships, everyone's so driven by championships nowadays. That's the one thing I will say about this culture. We're a very championship culture. If you're a champion, you're a bust. You know, you're champion or bust. And I think that is the one con about today's NBA. But I believe as long as the Bucks make the Eastern Conference Finals, it's a good season. Do you believe they need to make the finals? Do you think it's championship or bust? Do you think it's Eastern Conference or failed season? I believe make the Eastern Conference, good season. Also, I believe if they play Brooklyn in the second round and lose, season of success also. Because last week, I'll assure you this, you all. I was scared about my Nets pick. I was scared. I was like, oh my goodness. I hopped on this wave of this Brooklyn Nets train that they're going to win the championship. And now I'm just wrong. Then I saw them got blown out by the Lakers. It just was not looking good. They weren't staying healthy. Kevin Durant got hurt again. I was just like, oh my goodness. I am absolutely just totally wrong on this one. I should have known LeBron, AD should have stayed with them. But the other day, I'm reassured in myself. Brooklyn's who I thought they were. Exactly who I thought they were. And people think that I said Steph Curry was number 3 by accident, and I had gotten lost in it. And he's number 2, some people told me. He's the MVP, someone told. He could still be the MVP, Steph. But he's not number 2. He's definitely not number 2. Number 2 is Kevin Durant. The Slim Reaper. The I don't know what you call him, but Kevin Durant. KD is number 2. And it's not close. It's very easy to see, hey, Steph Curry, you're number 3, Kevin Durant, you're number 2. Because I don't think you guys understand why Kevin Durant's number 2, and he proved why he was number 2 the other night. Kevin Durant didn't play the first quarter. I want you guys to listen to this. Kevin Durant didn't play the first quarter. Whole first quarter didn't play. Played 27 minutes throughout the whole game. 27. And still dropped 33 points. On a minutes restriction. Not playing however you wanted to play. On a minutes restriction because he got injured 5 days before. And not against the Pistons, not against the Cavaliers. Against the second best team in the Western Conference with CP3. A guy who I had to apologize the other week about. The guy who has Devin Booker, one of my favorite players in the league. He didn't drop 33 against some schmucks. He didn't drop 33 against me. He dropped 33 in 27 minutes against the Suns. A healthy Suns. And then they got James Harden coming back. And they got Kyrie playing like Kyrie, the guy with the best handles in the league. I don't care about your chemistry. I don't care. They're better than you. You need chemistry. They don't need chemistry. You can't guard anyone on that basketball court. They beat the Suns without James Harden, with Kevin Durant on a minutes restriction. Come on, man. Nets are 2021 NBA champions. And that's not being lost in it. That's not being... No. They're too good. It's too good. 28 minutes. Excuse me, 28 minutes. He dropped 33 points in 28 minutes. My bad. That was wrong of me to say. You guys can't drop 33 in your rec league. Come on. I don't think you guys get this. I don't think you guys get the greatness you're watching and you don't appreciate it. You hate on it. You guys hate on Russell Westbrook. I hate on Russell Wilson. You hate on Russell Westbrook. The man... Appreciate it, man. That's all I'm saying. Appreciate this. Because the NBA is the greatest it's ever been in his life. In his longevity, in his career. It's the greatest it's ever been. Anyone who's not for super teams, that's just your toxic masculinity showing clearly. I gotta say that. That's been on my mind too. Like, I just don't like it when I see people say super teams are bad. Super teams are the reason why the NBA has gotten one of the highest viewerships ever outside of the MJ in the 90s. I'm just saying, man. These super teams aren't weak. Any other profession, you go into a better situation, it's called a good move, and now it's called weak? No. Come on now. Come on. You'll be called admirable, not good. You'll be called admirable to go to a better company for less money. And these guys are called weak. Come on, man. You can't let your toxic masculinity get in the way of your goals. Right? Because that's what it is. That's essentially what you're bringing it down to. When you tell me you shouldn't go and get a championship because it's weak, what's the goal of basketball? And to some people, it's to get paid. But the overarching theme is to win a championship, right? And now you're saying, do what you should do to win. What you should do is join the best team with the best opportunity for you. And now that's considered weak. Do you guys just see the hypocrisy behind that, or how that doesn't make sense? How toxic masculinity has really gone into people's minds and made people not think, oh, you're just going to go to Los Angeles. What? Yeah, I'm going to go to Los Angeles. It's a nice place. Nice place to live. It's going to help me win a championship easier. And probably going to get paid more. All of the above. May have to make a salary pay cut, but the endorsements. But, hey, man. There's different ways to do this, of course. I don't blame Damian Lillard for what he does. If he wins a championship, good for him. But poo-pooing on people for going to a super team or a supposed super team, I'm doing air quotations right now. Why? I don't get it. But, hey, man, it is whatever. So tomorrow, we have the NFL draft. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a Jaguars fan from Jacksonville, so we're good. We got Trevor Lawrence. And if you listen to my other podcast, you know how I feel about Justin Fields, Zach Wilson. And the Jets are going to choose Zach Wilson. I was nothing but the best for Zach Wilson. But it's forget the Jets. If I'm being completely honest with you, it's forget the Jets. I don't have to say why it's forget the Jets. Just forget the Jets. There's no other reason for it. And the 49ers do the same thing, and they pick Mac Jones. Mac Jones from Jacksonville. Bulls product. Congratulations on him getting drafted too. Zach Wilson and Mac Jones, congratulations. Changing your life's future forever. Your family's future forever. Congratulations. But no. There's no way Justin Fields needs to be picked as the 4th best quarterback in the draft. If the 49ers picked Trey Lance, understandable. He was in the race the whole time. But Mac Jones just came out of nowhere. I hear the train of thought of, Justin Fields is the product of the Ohio State mold, of Ohio State black quarterback mold. Well, how about Mac Jones with the Alabama quarterback mold when they're around elite talent 25-8? What about that? Why does that rule not apply to Mac Jones, but it applies to Justin Fields? I don't have to say it out loud. You guys know. So if the 49ers decide to choose Mac Jones, forget the 49ers too. It's just how I feel. I love Jerry Rice, greatest wide receiver of all time, but you just gotta tell it how it is. Trey Lance, understandable. He was in the race the whole time. He put in the work. But all of a sudden we're doing this college basketball thing, one and dones. This isn't college basketball, people. I don't know where this one and done thing came from. Because Kyler Murray, African American quarterback, but I gotta be objective about it. What's he done? One and done. He was a one and done dude. Jalen Hurts, the book's not out on Jalen Hurts. We got a bunch of one and dones in the league now, and we think it's all of a sudden this great new thing, and they haven't proven anything. And we got people like Zach Wilson, who's going to get drafted by the Jets. And then 2 years from now, when he doesn't play well, 3 years from now, when he doesn't play well, you're going to call him a bust. But no, Justin Fields should have been the number 2 pick. 3 to 4 years from now, when you call Mac Jones a bust, you're going to say, well, what was the problem behind that? What happened? What? I'm going to tell you why. Because Trey Lance was better. Justin Fields was better. It's not all about choosing the guy who's going to hit a home run. It's about choosing the guy that works. Choosing the best player in the draft. The guy with the most upside. And I saw Zach Wilson's highlights. He can throw the rock. I don't care who you're playing. Yeah, your competition may not be as good, but I saw he throws a very soft, catchable football. You and I could catch one of Zach Wilson's passes. Very impressive. But Mac Jones, congratulations. But I'm not going to hear the bus chat from them. I'm not taking that from Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. I'm not taking that. I'm taking poor GM. Poor GM. Poor coaching. I'm not blaming Zach Wilson and Mac Jones for their deficits in the NFL if they have any. Hopefully they have a successful long career. But I'm going to say, you had Justin Fields. You had Trey Lance. I also don't want to hear the train of thought. Why did they choose? No. I'm telling you, Justin Fields, Trey Lance deserve to be the two or three. It's Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence should be the real argument. It shouldn't be Zach Wilson or Justin Fields. That's the argument, Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. But I'm only a lonely man who is just completed his junior year of college. But I will say, the fix is in. And and we see it in America all the time. And I don't have to even explain it. The fix is in. And it's sort of disheartening, right? Disheartening. But we got to get through it, man. It's just how it is. Persevere. Do what we've been doing. Persevere. And prove them wrong. Every time. Every single time. We've shown them a billion times. I don't know how many times. I don't know how many times more we'll have to show them. But we'll just have to do it again. You just have to do it again, Justin. You just have to do it again, Trey. You earned it. Everything you got, you earned it. And you're probably going to go in a better situation because you're a later draft pick. But Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, I will not take any slander of either of them because you did it to yourself. And you knew better, franchises. All you analysts. Also, forget Dan Orlovsky, the ESPN guy. I'm not going to call out guys like that, toxic. But it was I do not like the way he handled Justin Fields by lying on someone's name. That's slander. Disrespectful. I mean, you just don't do that to people. He's a 22-year-old kid. You're a grown man. And you're just going to slander someone's name like that? Call him he's the first guy out and the last guy in. You know, it's not good to do what I just did. But you just can't do that to people. You just can't treat other people wrong. And he's still probably working at ESPN doing his thing. But you just can't do people wrong, and that's and I don't know if he's got some repercussions for it, but I just feel like that's something that all this was on my chest and I had to get it out about the NFL draft. Congratulations, though, to all of the people who will get drafted and changing their family's future, change their life forever, but their family's future for generations on. Method, if you're going to draft, I know GM's probably not listening to it, just choose the best player. Even if he's not the best, even though that you may not need him, just choose the best player. It'll always work out. Because fans 20 years from now or 5 years from now say, Kyle Pitts is pretty good. That GM knows what he's doing. You know, that guy knows what he's doing. You know, we haven't been able to get an offensive tackle or offensive lineman, but he knows how to draft. He knows what's best for the fans. Look at it that way. They don't look at it and say, oh, we got a bust. We could have gotten Kyle Pitts. You know? They look at it and say, oh, he drafted well, but we just need some more pieces. Fans will give you a chance. Owners will give you a chance. GMs, if you're listening. As long as you just choose the right, successful guy. But, as I said last week, remember last week the big Super League drama was happening and fans of all the clubs were protesting. But there's been really one protest that's sort of lingered and is somewhat over now. And that's Arsenal. So the Kroenke family, who resides in the United States, owns Arsenal. And due to the Super League of drama, the Arsenal fans have wanted the Kroenkes to sell their club. It's their club. It's theirs. And if you watch football or watch soccer, however you want to call it, you have to know how these fans work. It's exactly the same, actually, with the NFL. The fans are always right. They always choose the right draft pick. Oh, we should have chose him. Oh, this is the right way to do things. He did it wrong. They can identify the problems, but they can't identify the solutions. The problem with a lot of people, I believe. And if you're a fan of a football team or a fan of a franchise of any sort, I think that's fine. It's sports, entertainment. But it sounds like now the Kroenkes will not sell Arsenal because the guy who was head of Spotify said that he was planning on buying it with a couple of Arsenal legends, like Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp. I think there's some more people, of course. But I just want to let you guys know about this, how Arsenal fans work, if you guys aren't familiar. They said to sack Arsene Wenger, the most successful manager in Arsenal's whole as long as they've been around, Arsenal's most successful manager. At least in the recent era. But what I hear from Arsenal when I look at the history books, Arsene Wenger is the most, in my opinion, the most successful Arsenal manager. When you just look at his stats. So they sack him, and they hire Unai Emery, Spanish guy, used to coach at PSG. So Unai Emery has his struggles, but he wins. Arsenal's competitive, and of course you can get confused and say, well, he's not competitive against Manchester United, Manchester City, and Liverpool. And I say that, yeah, no one really is. But he's competitive against Tottenham, he's competitive against Chelsea, and he's competitive against Leicester. And those are the 3 teams that you need to beat out to make the Champions League. So as soon as you figure out how to be more consistent against those teams and get more consistent results against weaker teams, not play down to level competition, you figure something out. Within his first year of being the coach for Arsenal, right? He makes the Europa League. It's not no Champions League final. Europa League final, not just Europa League. He makes the Europa League final. It's nothing great. But Europa League, once it gets to the end of the competition, semifinals, quarterfinals, it gets a little bit more competitive. And he made it to the Europa League. Something he's won multiple times, something he could probably do again. I believe he has, if I'm not mistaken, they play Manchester United in the Europa League semifinals. His new team now. Or he lost, but I believe, let me check real quick actually. No, I'm wrong. They play Arsenal. So Unai Emery is going to play Arsenal in the Europa League semifinal. It's like they plan these things out. I'm all for it. Perfectly fine with it. This is where I'm appreciative of UEFA rigging the system, so I could see Unai Emery get revenge or Arsenal play Unai Emery. I want to see that. If UEFA rigged it that way, that's not fair, but I want to see that though. It's going to be a very, very interesting fixture. But also, I want to get into this. They want Arteta to get back into the fan thing. They want Arteta sacked. Well, this guy's only won an FA Cup final in less than a year with you guys. Won the preseason tournament. God, I can't remember. But the preseason tournament for the English. If you know what I'm talking about, it's the preseason tournament that the winner of the Premier League and the winner of the FA Cup play. They usually play each other. They won't beat Liverpool. 2 trophies in less than a year. Not even a whole year in the job. Less than a year, he's won 2 trophies. And the fans want him fired. So clearly, these fans are not going to be satisfied. With most coaches, in your first year, you're not going to be successful. That's why I don't blame Doc Rivers if he loses in the second round with the 76ers. It's your first year in the job. But these 2 coaches have been successful in the first year. And then, as with everything, people adjust and you're going to get worse. And what have people done with Arsenal? They've adjusted and Arsenal has gotten worse. But clearly, they still are doing just fine because they're in the Europa League semifinals. Tottenham's not in it. Arsenal is. Arsenal looks good for the future. Tottenham does not. So when you want to say Arsenal needs a new coach, Arsenal needs a new manager, and you listen to the fans, the sporadic fans. Yes, the football is built for soccer. Yes, maybe the Super League would have screwed some stuff up. But there's some instances where you gotta be the guy. You gotta know what's best for the club. Yes, I do believe that Kroenke should invest in more money in Arsenal. they're not all the way at fault. But I do not believe if Arsenal decided to fire or get rid of the Cronkies, that would be that much different with this new Spotify guy. I do not believe it would be that much different. So, last week, as I said, the Super League got why the Arsenal fans are protesting, why all this is going on. Last week I talked about football needs to change. And of course, one of my pet peeves I believe I have is people identifying problems but never have solutions. Something that people are very good at doing, if I might add. Know how to address a problem, but okay, so how are you going to help me out? Most of the time you know the problem and you don't need help with the problem. You need help with the solution to the problem. So I said football needs to change. Football/soccer needs to change. And I give you some solutions to how football can change. Alright? Since I don't want to be a hypocrite. Even though I believe the Super League is a change. And that is a change. That is my solution. But let me give you my own solutions. And there is really one solution, but two subcategories into the solution. Solution number one. Shorten the Premier League season, shorten all the regular season games. So La Liga, Serie A, Liga, Premier League, Scottish Premier League, I believe it's maybe called Scottish Premier Division. Anyways, play less games. So these games matter more. You don't have to play every team twice. All you need to play is... You can play multiple teams twice, but sometimes play one team once. Southampton versus Burnley doesn't need to happen twice. It can happen once. Manchester City versus Fulham only needs to happen once. We don't need that. Shorten up the season, make it end around April and May time, and then teams focus on other things. They get an early rest, longer off season. Or, you could do where the games where you would probably have Premier League games, have those FA Cup games in the middle of the week. During the weekends you don't have Premier League games. Have FA Cup games. I feel like that's an easy schedule adjustment to all the leagues. The lower league teams can play during midweek. Suggestions. So you don't have 3 games in the span of 7 days with some people having FA Cup, Premier League, another Premier League, or Premier League, and then you have a Premier League game Monday, and then you got a Champions League game Wednesday, and it's just a hectic schedule. So you just have 1-2 games a week, and have some weeks where you gotta have 3 games a week if you're in Champions League or in Europa League. So that's my number one. Shorten up the season. Because Leicester City beating Manchester City, honestly now, does not look as good. Doesn't look like it doesn't really matter. That's a part of the season. But it doesn't seem like it. That's a great thing about football. But you can recover, but can we show a little bit? Losing is important. Losing a few games in the Premier League isn't a lot. And I don't think that'd take the essence out of football by shortening up the season. So, solution number 2 is the same thing. Shorten up the season, but have the playoffs. This is an American sports, Kamal. This is European soccer. This is Europe. But the season is over. This isn't fun. This isn't competitive. This is exactly what they didn't want for the Super League. Man City already winning the league. Well, come on, the top 4. The top 4. What about them? If that's a race, I don't want to see people fight for second. It's sort of like Uno, right? We know the winner of the Uno game or winner of the card game, whatever you play. And then there's always that guy who's like, let's play for second. I'm like, dude, I don't want to play for second. I lost. I don't really care. But it's Premier League, English, European style. That's how they do things. Welcome all the Liverpool, Manchester City, when that came down to Raw, that was a super interesting season. Well, how was that set up? The 2019 season, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, where Manchester City and Liverpool literally cannot lose a game. Whoever lost, they would be out of they would lose the Premier League, basically. They couldn't tie. They had to win. Well, what does that sound like? Lose and you're out. Sounds like the playoffs. So you're telling me your most entertaining season in recent history was like the playoffs, when Sergio Aguero scored probably the most iconic goal in Premier League history? Why was it so important that he won? Because if he lost, he would be out. He would lose the championship. Very playoff-esque, if I do say so myself. Hey, man. Suggestion. I don't need a solution. I take it back. My pet peeve isn't people who identify problems and give solutions. Identify problems and just give a suggestion. Suggest. Give them something, but you're not helping anyone when you just say address a solution, just a problem. It's not hard. Most people can do that. Most people have learned that. Suggest a solution. So keep that in mind. If you ever have a gripe with someone, suggest a solution. It doesn't have to be the correct answer, but suggest it. All right? Champions League was yesterday. Sticking to football, there's not too much I want to talk about with that. Real Madrid, Chelsea. Chelsea is shocking me. Chelsea, we will win. They're my Premier League favorites next year. They get Timo Werner, second year. Rookie. Again, this draft is about to happen. Please do not judge these rookies off of their first year. Please judge these rookies how you judged Justin Herbert. Or Justin Herbert wasn't phenomenal. He wasn't phenomenal, but he was good. You saw promise. Do not over-critique rookies. That's my suggestion. That's what I try to not ever do. Because your first year of college is your most difficult. Your first day on the job is the most difficult. First, for most people, are difficult. Then you get acclimated into the system, and then you figure out, are you good or are you bad? Your first year is very tough. It's a very tough test to see if you're good. Second year is difficult. You really get judged. This is Kyler Murray's first year for me to say, this is how good he really is. Got improved. You've adjusted to the NFL. They've adjusted to you. You know how to work it. I want to see how you do Kyler Murray. This is Kyler Murray to see if he's elite. See what he's really made of. And I think he's going to ball this year, honestly. I didn't touch on the draft too much. But I also wanted to talk about quick draft stuff. I'm talking about Champions League right now, but quick draft stuff. As long as the Seahawks drafted offensive linemen, we're good. You're good, Seattle. You signed Geno Smith. Congratulations, right? You signed Geno Smith. That's such a great accomplishment. But anyways, Seattle, sign an offensive lineman. Anyone, guard, tackle, right, left. Just sign somebody. Please sign somebody that's going to help your offensive line. Keep Russell Wilson in Seattle 2021. That's the slogan for Seattle. Help Russell Wilson out or keep Russell Wilson 2021. Anyways, back to Champions League. After I went on that little tyrant right there. Chelsea are my dark horse to win the Premier League 2021-2022 season because they are balling. They have a system. They have a style. Unlike any other team, they can play really well. And I believe Chelsea definitely have the chance to win the Premier League. Play in Madrid, and play their style they want to play. Christian Pulisic got on the score sheet. Christian Pulisic is not the best American. Clint Dempsey's number one. But he's easily going to, by the end of his career, if he stays healthy, he's going to be number one. Easily. Landon Donovan's number two, just to let you guys know. Clint Dempsey's better than Landon Donovan. No ifs or buts about it. Real Madrid, I thought they would win maybe a 1-0 victory. No Sergio Ramos, no Mendy. So that didn't help. These are two teams both in similar forms. Of course, Chelsea came off the West Ham victory, and Real Madrid had just lost to Real Betis. So, but really, I do think they're in these similar circumstances, in about similar form. 1-1. If it holds, Chelsea should go through on aggregate, but I don't think I think we're in for a really, really good second tie, and as a neutral fan, that's something I want. That is all you can ask for if you are a neutral fan. So speaking of Champions League, we're going to get into predictions. And only real big game this weekend in the Premier League is Manchester United, Liverpool. And I'm asking like that's a small game. That's one of the biggest rivalries in all of Premier League history. England history. Football, England history. Whatever. Anyways. I'm picking Liverpool only because they need to win. Their desperation level is a little bit higher. Manchester United is going to play all their great players, their best players against Roma. They've solidified themselves in the Champions League. It's sort of a last game, sort of like Manchester City, Man United, where Manchester City won the league. Manchester United play with a little bit more confidence. They sort of needed the game a little bit more to stretch them out from being second. I believe it's a similar game to Liverpool. And I got Liverpool winning only because they needed 1-0 victory. Mo Salah will get a goal. No, I got to go from Fabinho. That's my hot take. Fabinho scores 1-0 if he even plays. You never know at Liverpool. Who's healthy, who's not. But Champions League today also. Manchester City, PSG. My favorite, PSG, so I got PSG. 2-1. But I do think it can get really ugly for PSG if Manchester City play like Manchester City. Because Manchester City can play like how Bayern Munich played against PSG. Just be a little bit more clinical. And that can be possible. But I saw them play Dortmund. And I see them play Tottenham. And I say, same Manchester City. Same Manchester City. They play to level their competition, but because they're so much better, they squeak it out. You can't do that against PSG with Neymar and the best player in the world, Kylian Mbappe. I'll say it every single time I mention his name. He's the best player in the world, Kylian Mbappe. Say it again. Kylian Mbappe is the best player in the world. With that reason, I think Manchester City doesn't play up to the level of their competition. Lose 2-1. 1-1 tie at the Etihad. However you pronounce the Etihad Arena, Etihad Stadium. 1-1. PSG go through on aggregate 3-2 to the final. I'll give you my prediction for Real Madrid, Chelsea, next week's episode because they play on Wednesday. And as I said earlier, my NBA NFL draft prediction is the Seahawks draft an offensive lineman. Hopefully they trade up for someone and get someone. But that's my only draft prediction. I don't watch enough college football to have a mock draft. And don't listen to anyone who thinks they can make, anyone who's not an NFL analyst, where that's not their specialty, do not look at their mock drafts. They're not specialists in this. Your mock draft is just as good as theirs because they may watch a little bit more. I take that back. I take it back. I'm just taking it back stuff. Listen to them, but do not get mad over it. If they say something that you don't agree with, understand where they're coming from, right? They're coming from a place of somewhat this watching probably a little bit more college football than you. So if you differ in opinions, don't worry about it. And that's what most journalists and most analysts, if you listen to this podcast and disagree with me, you probably watch sports a little bit, slightly less, probably even more than me. So if you disagree with me, and you're fair to that. But anyways, I just want to say thank you once again for listening. That thank you was sort of hard, sort of abrasive, but thank you. I really appreciate it. You don't have to listen. You don't have to do, you don't have to do this, but you listen to my takes, the takes of a 21-year-old dude from Jacksonville, Florida, who was born in December. And I thank you for that. Full moon the other night. I just want to say people were acting a little crazy. I just point that out. People were acting a little crazy the other night. Please be safe on the streets. But again, thank you. Please comment anything in the YouTube section. Comment anything below that you agree with, you disagree with. Thank you again. Last time I thank you. Thank you again for having me. This is Kamal Daniels, and this is the Peng Sports Podcast, April 28th. See you guys next week.